which was really cool. Our teammates were a team from San Francisco and a team from Boston. So it was pretty cool. And then the level that these kids get to talk to people is amazing. I was talking to one of the guys from the San Francisco team, and I'm like, so what do you do in the real day when you're not mentoring a robot team? He's like, well, I'm the lead software engineer for John Deere International. Oh.
Yeah, and you're competing against teams where that's their mentor.
That's like one of their mentors. You go, like, oh yeah, okay, cool. So he's like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a high school science teacher. And one of the other guys was a programmer for Boston Dynamic, which is the people that make the running robot and like the pack mule robot for the military and stuff. And they're just super cool. They're like just talking to our kids. There's high-level executives from every auto manufacturer there, all sorts of companies. So the kids really do get to network and they get to see a lot of stuff. We also one night I was like, well, how many of you have been to the Gulf of Mexico? Barely any of them. So we threw all the kids in the cars and we drove to the Gulf of Mexico. It's an hour away. So we went down there. The whole team actually qualified too. If you thought we had it bad, they actually found out they qualified the first day we were on the road. So they found out they qualified on Monday morning, and they had to be there Wednesday. That's pretty wild. But they're a good friend. Like that's the cool thing about FIRST is teams are actually nice to each other, and you want to have that other team be successful. And so we actually plan stuff together, and we do things together as a group. The kids got their first Whataburger, which I didn't know what that was, but it's like a restaurant chain down there. It's Whataburger. And they actually shut the kitchen down and came out and got pictures with us because we had so much fun in the restaurant tonight. So it's just really cool for kids to get to meet people from all over the country and get experiences. We went to a Houston Astros game. Cool part, Justin Verlander was pitching that night. So, typical Justin Verlander, he pitched really well for 3 innings and gave him back-to-back home runs.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to go and get to a game. So again, we were trying to give them experiences the whole time that they could remember. So we did win a finalist award, so we actually came home with some trophies and stuff, which was really cool. Our biggest goal was to just get to play in the Alliance Park on the last day. And then on the way home, we actually hit Little Rock. This I thought was one of the coolest stops we made along the way. This was the monument to the Little Rock 9, the integrated schools in the South. And we pulled in with our trailer and caravan full of cars, and the police rolled up. And the kids in my car were like, "We're gonna get in trouble." I'm like, "No, we won't get in trouble." And I silently thinking like, I better not go to jail or something. But the police officer's like, "Oh yeah, the Capitol's unlocked. You can go in and walk anywhere you want, park anywhere you want on Sunday because nobody's gonna come." They were super nice. So the kids actually went and walked around the Capitol of Arkansas. The Capitol building was open. So the kids were like up in the 3rd floor and sticking out the balcony. Then we went and found the monument and had a good time. And then we had pizza under the St. Louis Arch on the way home. In the dark, we got to find our way to get there. Kids hadn't seen these things, so we just wanted to give them a lot of experiences to remind them of things to do. So we tried to hit as many stops along the way there and back as we could. So that was our trip to Houston. A lot of it was just driving. The rest of it was window time. But it was really fun. The kids had a lot of fun bonding and spending time together and just having experiences of them. And we had a really good time down there. I think you guys remember the special down there.
I liked how, even though we were in the van, we were going down, we were still, there's this place where we went there, throwing rolls. It was southern, and it was this, historical place. It was super cool, and this picture of Nick next to this tiny little old, fashioned John Deere tractor. It's the funniest thing. Nick, one of our mentors. And I don't know, it was just nice, and it was nice bonding with the team for a long time, maybe too long, but
sometimes.
Yeah, it was really great, and it's kind of some places I'd never been, and it was really cool competing robotics and on the world stage because we never won a state chairman's thing award. Yeah. That's kind of my big goal for my high school career as a part of the chairman's team is to win a state one. So it's nice to have that culmination at the end of the senior year and be even though there's no way we were even getting finalists at Worlds.
Super competitive.
Oh my, this team fighting pie that they have 4 state winners for chairman. When I was watching their chairman's video, I was like, okay.
They started a congressional committee on STEM education in Washington, D.C. that they oversee.
and
they
literally
talk
like
with Congress
cause
and
like
stuff.
policy change
Yeah.
and action
Yeah, they like make laws.
to help like extracurriculars like robotics that aren't necessarily like school funded to still get funded and stuff like that. Like actual, it's like and that's like a small part. It was like a
One of the teams that won the whole, if you win at the World Championships, you're in the Chairman's Award, you're a Hall of Fame team, and you get to come back for 10 years in a row. And the team that won was the Frog Force out of Novi, and they print prosthetic hands for kids in Africa. It's one of the few things that they do. And you're just like, holy smokes. So to be in there, in the same categories as some of these teams was pretty high honor for us.
It was a really good experience overall. Just to be in the same building as them.
I know.
It was like crazy.
Can I just talk about the elevations or the motorcycle group?
I don't think we had a motion group.
No.
We could have, but who knows? We never know. But I never know anymore. But we did have a good, we had really good experiences along the way, met a lot, and everybody was super interested in what you're doing, so they just want to talk to them. One of the kind of cool ones, like my son and I were in the elevator in a mall, and there was a team from Israel that's like, they're the best team in Israel. And I knew their number, and I saw their shirt. I was like, oh, these guys came a long way to get to this thing too. And he said, oh, how far did you guys go? I said, well, we drove in 22 hours. And he said, oh, our flight was 22 hours. And so we talked. We were like, well, we're from Michigan. And he said, oh, we watched the Michigan State Championships. It was crazy. Michigan's a real competitive space for this robotics competition. A lot of General Motors and those guys poured a lot of money and resources in early. So we have the most teams of any country. We have more teams than any country and the most teams of any state in the United States by 2. So we have twice as many teams as California. Per capita, we're like 7 times higher than anybody. So it's Michigan's real tough competition. And he said, oh yeah, this, you get ranked 1 to 8. He's like, this number 8 team beat a number 1 seed. And I was like, looked at my son, I'm like, oh, that was us. Because it was.
Yeah.
And also they're like, oh my gosh,
Slammed
they were like, oh my gosh, you guys are the tractor technicians. And I'm like, wait a second, we're supposed to be excited to meet you, not the other way around.
Yeah, and we had the first triple time in Michigan.
Yeah, so there's a part where, so in the game, the robots they build, they get 6 weeks to make a robot, and the robot has to accomplish a different task every year. So this year was shooting a 9.5-inch ball into a giant cone 9 feet off the ground. And then at the end, your robot had to climb up a set of monkey bars to 8 feet off the ground. And your robot weighs 150 pounds. So they make the rules the way they do, and a lot of teams can only put 2 robots up on the top bar, but we were the first team in Michigan to put 3 up there.
They're second.
Second in the world. So it was pretty fun. So it was really cool when they accomplished some of these big kind of goal things that we had. And we basically blew past every objective goal we had this year for our team. So next year's gonna be really tough.
And it's cool being like super competitive with such a small team.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do when you go to college?
So it's cellular and molecular biomedical sciences. Just my current major. I wanted to do biomedical engineering, but I decided I was more interested in science, maybe possibly like administrative side of it. That's a whole nother story.
You still have people from DART that are working with you guys?
There's, we don't have any direct mentors from DART right now. There used to be DART started, actually was part of the team way back in the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
Team disappeared, and then I didn't know they had a team, so we started a new team.
Oh,
So we've still got some sponsorship work we do with DART. We've got some mentors from, one retired mentor from General Motors, and then a lot of parents, really, which is kind of the crazy part. Like one of the teams we know really well, they build the Genome Proving Ground, and so the General Motors engineers are their mentors. Like it's a different level. So it's pretty cool. That's the spot. So this is the presentation they would give at an event, and I'll take it away.
I'd rather eat first.
Can we wait and let them talk and then do?
It's up to you guys.
Yeah, it'll be about like 6-ish.
Yeah.
So they have to have a certain time, because if they don't hit a time, then they lose it.
Yeah, and our third person, Amanda Meninga, who some of you guys might have seen at the scholarship night, red hair, and so she's our third, because you know she's 3. And so, good morning, Lions Club. We are tractor technicians, and our theme for this year is sewing skills, growing leaders, and harvesting futures. And as we go into this 11th season, we were really focused on building leaders within our community and school, And our team structure is really what allows us to do that. So that allows opportunities for additional responsibility and leadership within our team, while also creating leaders within the school. And our roots are really our values. And those have built our culture of success in the past and continue to build our culture of success into the future.
So since 2019, our team has been split evenly between male and female, and approximately 40% receive financial help. So this really allows us to have a balanced team and to have our team really grow. Our alumni base is very active in our program. About 60% pursue STEM careers, but we also have students who go to other careers because our FIRST community and our whole team really instills values that can help you wherever you go in your future. And we have big involvement in our elementary and middle school teams. So we have 20 plus elementary and 6 middle school teams, and actually high schoolers like us are the mentors for these teams. So we're learning values like leadership and legacy, and we're contributing an average of 90 hours a year to these teams and helping them progress their STEM knowledge. And our next gen team, which is 7th and 8th graders who actually build a high school robot like we do, and they compete at our level, and that's really helpful that we can get them to challenge themselves and enhance their learning. We also integrate robotics into the curriculum at the elementary and middle school levels. So we take our robotics ideas and just STEM values, and we kind of expose those to students in elementary school and middle school through like classes like introduction to robotics and 3D printing. And then we also have a website with STEM activities.
And so this past summer, Mason Public Schools approached us about instilling robotics curriculum and creating it for their Level Up summer programming. And so this summer curriculum included Lego or FCC level robotics and a unique STEM-based project. And our high school and alumni members were the robotics mentors, instilling first values in the students, and also helping with all other parts of the program. And the impact of this program cannot be understated. Our FTC team went from 10 members to over 50 members. Our elementary teams retained their large participation rates, and it increased our community's exposure to robotics and STEM overall, and also the sustainability of our program.
We've made great engineering advancements this year. So our CAD design base allows us to modify a robot on a computer and make those changes so we don't have to do them physically. So that allows us to create much quicker designs and much more precise. We also use 3D printing as a form of additive manufacturing. So this really allows us to create, like I said, more precise parts and more quickly. And we don't have to outsource that manufacturing part to LCC. And then we've also done a lot of subtractive manufacturing through computer numerically controlled technology, or CNC. So we have a new CNC router this year, which was built by 2 of our high school seniors and guided by a mentor as a capstone project. And we also have rewired a CNC mill. And now most of our fabrication members are trained on how to use both of these CNC machines so that we can get everybody kind of working with this and experiencing this new technology. This also allows us to create more precise parts. And we also extend both our 3D printing and our subtractive manufacturing, such as our CNC, to other FIRST teams who want to use it.
Outreach is a core part of our program. So when MSU this past year shut down and was not able to host our kickoff due to COVID, we hosted it virtually and facilitated it for about 300 participants at one point. And Spill Day is something that our program does every year since about 2014, I believe. And this past year we hosted it by appointment due to COVID, and this allows local teams and to get resources and assistance directly at the beginning of the season to get started with thinking about the game and how to approach it and what they need to do and how to attack those goals. And they usually leave built with like a chassis robot by the end of that build day, which is great. And Then we also share resources with neighboring teams throughout the season, which includes field practice on our mock field setup that we do every year, and thanks to our new practice robotics facilities, so in that big section. And then we also provide direct fabrication assistance and a team that we helped extensively throughout the season this past year, along with quite a few other teams, but notably Blended Learning Academy, which is an alternative learning school that started their program very recently. And a great example of our outreach within the FIRST community is our mobile machine shop. It acts as a design, it allows for design and development on a location, and it acts as an extension of our program, containing everything necessary to build a robot from start to finish. And it was in use for 4 events during the 2022 competition season as a shop for teams to use, and including the state competition, which in total allows for 225 unique teams to have used our mobile machine shop. And we expand FIRST opportunities, which includes the Mason District competition since 2014, the only district event in Mid-Michigan, 4 FTC events, and the only 2 LEGO Elementary State competitions in the state of Michigan just this year. And we started the Tri-County FTC League in 2020, which includes 32 FTC teams, and we started the Mid-Michigan Robotics Coalition in 2018, along with 9 other teams. And all of these programs and the starting of all of these teams allows us to create and protect a sustainable base for robotics in Mid-Michigan, because otherwise, without teams like us, it'd be really hard for new teams to start in the area.
And we work to keep our sponsors engaged in our program. So Kadan, which is an artificial perception technology company based in Tokyo, Japan, funds all of our registration fees so that we can really grow as a program and not have to worry about this. Kadan's highly experienced lead programmers have actually conferenced with ours, and this really allows us to bridge the knowledge gap created by COVID and allow our programmers to gain that knowledge and gain that experience. Our sponsors are virtually updated with newsletters, and they're always invited to our FRC home event at Mason, our high school event. And so this really allows for career exploration opportunities because our students are creating personal connections with these sponsors, and this really allows them to expand their futures. So for example, Kettering University hosts a Y Kettering night at our high school, and we're fortunate enough to have tours at locally based world-renowned companies such as Dark Container, Technique, and Gaston.
And our impact in the past year includes direct collaboration with 9 FRC teams, over 20 FLL and FLL junior teams, 6 FTC teams, and our community interactions, which are important to us, includes the funding, initiation, and continuation of 5 community service projects, and also the strengthening or creation of 6 new community organization relationships. And measuring our long-term impact in our community is important to us.
We've increased STEM literacy within our community through programs like our Level Up summer program, as well as our elementary and middle school robotics programs.
We provide support to our community through volunteers and resources.
We create opportunities for students to be involved in robotics and engaged in our program.
Our program exposes students to a variety of STEM concepts, not just robotics.
And we take pride in our alumni, and we believe that they can achieve great things in their futures. Thank you for listening.
Questions?
So what do you use for your CAD/CAM programs?
CAD, so there's Inventor, which is something that Doug just came to the last meeting, was really what allowed us to break into that space. He was really instrumental in us getting involved in CAD, and Doug, who is now a junior, not Doug, Cameron. Cameron, who is now a junior, who started as a freshman, is now, like, even back then, he was like, but like here, like, fully trained on how to use Inventor. You can just ask him and it allows us to like literally put a robot and have it play a game.
Yep.
Yeah,
And it's just like so cool.
it's really nice how our CAD process is compatible with our 3D printers.
Yep.
So we can create something on CAD and then just 3D print it and implement it on the robot.
allows for a lot more complexity, and also allows us to not have to pay so much for those parts.
Well, we did, and then Inventor interfaces came directly to the CNC machines that they built,
Yeah.
so they can do tool pathing right there,
Yeah.
and then machine the parts out, which is really, and Cam, like they said, Cameron's a junior, he's a junior now. When he was a freshman, he had never touched it and he started, but now literally our entire robot, which is about 700 different parts,
Yeah,
is fully assembled, all operational and inside a CAD.
yeah.
And you can basically go to him now and say, well, I want something that looks,
It,
He'd be like, yeah.
And-
it's pretty amazing, cause
Yeah, and then
I
he comes
worked with
back.
NX when I was working
Oh,
with
yeah.
Dart, so.
yeah,
Yeah, but Inventor's good stuff.
yeah, it's really awesome how they've been able to take off. We've got two 8th graders who are in our next gen program, and they've been working with Cameron and Doug, and they're already pretty good as 8th graders, so the future's looking good at these things.
So, this is way over the top of my head, I mean, your whole program, but you go to school, can you just go into the classroom or lab or whatever and start working on these things, or is it lab-based, you have to have an instructor or watch them over, or?
Yeah, so we usually meet like after school and at night, but our two seniors that helped with the mentor to design our CNC router, they actually took an independent study for school, so they took an hour out of their day and they worked with the mentor to design and create the CNC router.
We actually have a whole safety program where they have to be certified and making sure that they like know when they're with mentors. There always has to be a mentor if you're working on a machine. That's just like how
Standard
it's.
operations.
Yeah, and so, I mean, even in the like robotics room, we really try to like make sure there's always kind of something there unless you're describing something quick. So we stress safety. It is like a fully functioning mobile machine, like not a mobile machine shop, it's a fully functioning machine shop in there. So yeah,
We've got 2 knee mills, we've got a lathe in there, we got CNC machines. Yep, yeah, it used to be the gymnastics room,
Okay,
and it used to be a multi-purpose wrestling room, there's gymnastics and softball, and now it's the robotics center, so.
that whole room is all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
both sides, so one room is our full field setup, and then the other room, we put all the electricity in, we've got a machine shop in there now. And it's pretty wild, the mobile machine shop is better than the shop, than out of anything I had when I started. And it just sits in the parking lot now until somebody needs it. So,
How did you come up with the tractor?
so that one is 12 years ago, we started the team, we were at a kickoff in Novi actually, and there were a lot of teams in line, I was looking at all their names, and there were like 12 Bulldog teams. And I'm like, I was sitting with a kid, and I said, we can't be the Bulldogs, because nobody will ever recognize us. So we were just throwing names back and forth, we said, well, you know, Mason's kind of a rural community, maybe a farming theme, and we were throwing different combinations of names out, and we threw out, and tractor technicians came out, and we both looked at each other and went, sounds pretty good. And funny enough, the kids for years wanted, like 2 or 3 years in, the kids were like, we need to change our name. And I'm like, just trust me, it's a good name, it's recognizable, you go to events, and there's the Flying Toasters and Frog Force, and all the names are really, you know, there's all sorts of crazy names out there. And
flying high.
Fighting Pie, Flying Pie, Pie High Samurais, but we're one of 2 or 3 tractor teams that exist out there. In Michigan, I always tell the kids, I'm like, you'll be surprised when we go places now. When we arrive, they know that people are like, oh, tractor technicians are here. We have a very distinctive name, a good brand, and a good logo. Our littlest group of kids are called Tractor Tots, then we have the tiny tractor technicians, then we have the tractor technicians in training, and then the next gen. So we're pretty well branded, and
That's something we always say, like, brand.
And it does make us more successful because when teams are thinking about, other teams at the event, we're very obvious.
Especially when we do well. And also community interactions, it's like nice for us to be like when they see the tractor with like the green and yellow, like it's pretty obvious that it's us.
You said you've been in existence for 18 years?
I've been in Mason for 18 years. The team's been around for 12. This
Okay.
team, there was a team through Dart that was called the Foaming Bulldogs, because they were Dart, and for about
Yeah, okay.
6 or 7 years, and then that team shut down when they lost mentorship and kids. But actually, like Doug, who's a mentor for us, his son was on the team when it was with Dart, and so there's some link back now that we've had, which is kind of cool.
Well, I guess what I was curious about is what has happened to some of the kids that have been on your team?
So we've got, one of our first students ever, she went to Kettering and she builds proton therapy machines, which I don't actually know what they do, but there's some technical things. She flies all over the world to build. One of our kids I just saw, he's getting his PhD in biochemical engineering at Michigan State. We have 2 or 3 people who work in IT, and are directors of IT for Dakota Integrated Systems. We've got one girl who works for Rolls-Royce. We have another kid he was actually a kid who wanted to go to aerospace engineering, but he took his first engineering class and was like, nope. But I really like that, like, numerical stuff and the business stuff of our robot team. So he ended up in accounting. He works actually for a tractor company out of Wisconsin.
Brianna just graduated.
Bree just graduated from Michigan Tech, and she's doing systems management engineering in Minnesota. She has a job, and then we've got Silas is graduated now, so he's working as a programming engineer. Matt, one of our kids, is at Purdue Polytechnic University right now in aerospace engineering. So it's a pretty good. We joke that of all the extracurriculars, we put the most kids to pro level.
And like, even if they were not pursuing like science stuff, it helps them a lot with like college and like that connection, and also having that like background, it makes them more loyal.
Yeah, exactly. The teamwork and the social skills and just all of the experience that you get with robotics helps you out anywhere.
Any other questions?
Not really a question, but if your kids, if they can speak and write G code, they
Oh,
can get a job